Any guesses what this video is going to be about? Like this Knight of Swords on a chicken? Who have we left behind? Death! We left death in the box. Maybe the notebook will solve everything. That's what we tell ourselves, right? Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you're doing all kinds of good today. Today I am introducing Marseille for May 2024. I did this last year. I essentially focused on studying the Marseille system in May last year. I'm doing the same thing this year, and in a minute I'm going to basically just show off all my Marseille decks and books and give you a little bit of a rundown of what I plan and hope to achieve regarding my Marseille study in May this year. I have hopes. They are unrealistic because I'm actually moving halfway through May, and that is always a chaotic and stressful and busy time. So I don't know how much Marseille study I'll get done, but I do still intend to focus on my Marseille study. So that's the general vibe. And I'm going to show you some stuff. Shall I show you books or shall I show you decks first? I think I'll show you books first because that is what is closest to hand. So my primary plan in terms of study and the only kind of structure I've got going on regarding my Marseille study is working through the Tarot on Earth workbook by Tom Benjamin. I have started this. I am barely a ways through, but this is a workbook. It's got space for you to fill out in the book. I have a separate notebook. This is my Marseille study notebook. It's green. If you care about notebooks, it's a Leuchtturm soft cover, and I think it's a B5 size. It's smaller than an A5. And then because it's Tarot on Earth, I stuck this sticker from the Tarot Arcano Tarot because that's the Earth Tarot and that was cute. So it's all green, it's all matching. This is my Marseille study notebook. There's very little in here so far. I've got some like notes from my numerology bits and pieces. This is my plan. I want to work through this guidebook. I want to work through this workbook in this notebook, and that's my like goal for my Marseille May this year. Like I said, I'm moving, so I don't know how much time I'm gonna have. Having said that though, things have got very hectic very quickly with my current house and needing to get that ready. So it's possible that I will have I'll be packed up, I'll be good, I'll be ready to go in the next like week, more or less, as I'm filming this. Not fully packed, but I'm doing all of the cleaning, the decluttering, the clearing, the tip runs, the cleaning, the painting. There's so much cleaning. Oh my God, I hate moving. May itself might not actually be too bad. I might just have to pack up a few more boxes and then go. We'll see. But this is my goal, and these two in a deck is pretty easy to kind of keep out when it comes to packing if I need to really pack everything away. So I think that's doable. I think that's achievable. I didn't have a notebook last year. I didn't have a dedicated Marseille study notebook last year, and maybe that's where I went wrong. Maybe the notebook will solve everything. That's what we tell ourselves, right? I will flick through the other Marseille books I've got. You've seen these before, but just for the sake of sharing, I have Marseille Tarot Towards the Art of Reading by Camelia Elias. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But this I have not touched. I'm going to be honest, but it has been highly recommended, or just her work in general seems to be very highly recommended when it comes to Marseille and that kind of cartomancy. I don't think I will get to this May. I like having this on my shelf, and I think I've flicked through it for a couple of as a resource for some numerology stuff for Tarot on Earth, and maybe it will come in handy for that again. Along similar lines, I have The Way of Tarot, The Spiritual Teacher in the Cards by Alejandro Jordorowsky. This is another of those books. Jordorowsky is one of those names that is always recommended for Tarot de Marseille reading, and I bought this book based off of that. It's this kind of like, oh, you have to read his stuff to learn Marseille or to get to grips with the Marseille or to really understand it. So I bought this. I haven't really touched this because I was working through the other book, which I'm going to show you in a second. And since buying this, I have learned a little bit more about the author, and I maybe wouldn't have purchased this based on what I've heard about his kind of style and approach, but I have it, so I'm sure I will get to it eventually, and it's a bit of a Bible. I think this one has a heavy focus on what the cards mean, and then here with the duets of some different cards, like I think that's quite interesting, but I think it's largely a Bible of meanings. And then we have part 5 here, which is the reading of the tarot. It seems very step-by-step teaching the card meanings, which I think is potentially, it's either going to be really helpful or I'm never going to use it, in which case I can declutter this book because it's huge. But in terms of sort of the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition of tarot, I very quickly moved away from trying to learn the individual cards as like individual entities and doing that kind of flashcard keyword thing, because that is just not how my brain best understands things. I don't know if that will translate over to Tarot de Marseille. It translates to almost everything else in my life, so it's possible, but I think it's handy to have this kind of reference of what does each card mean. And I think there's more, I want to say there's more of the like history and the esoteric type stuff in this book, and I could be wrong because like I say, I haven't really cracked it open. We've got keywords and we've got the symbols, so like that's all good, but you know, I'll have a read, I'll see how I feel. It'll either stay or it won't. Hopefully I'll have touched it by next year. And then this is Tarot, the Open Reading by Yoav Ben-Dov, which again is another author that is always recommended for Tarot de Marseille. When I was first looking into Tarot de Marseille, it was Ben-Dov and Jordorowsky. It was like, you have to read these authors. They seemed like the essential Marseille reading. But anyhow, that I have this, and this is more focused on the style of reading, like the open reading is style of reading, which is commonly how someone might read Marseille cards. This book is more of that kind of holistic view or holistic approach to learning the Marseille than this, which is that kind of Bible of keywords, or at least I could be wrong about this book, but when I was talking before about you have the flashcard keyword style approach to reading, and then you have something that's a bit more holistic, a bit more interconnected and interwoven, which is how my brain works. And I mean, it's how everyone's brain works, but I really can't do the single entity thing. This is what I was drawn to enable me to do that, because by learning the method of reading and the method of reading the cards together, and then I kind of reverse engineer the meanings of the individual cards from doing that practice, it sounds really counterintuitive. It is just autism, frankly. I haven't touched this. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I have not touched this since last May. I got some degree into it, as you can see from my little markers of things, and then I haven't picked it up in nearly 12 months. So I'm going to work through the workbook, Tom Benjamin workbook, for getting to know the cards, and then I'm going to work through this as learning how to read them. Like I say, the goals are lofty because God knows what my May is going to look like. I do have one more book. This is Cartomancy and Folk Witchcraft by Roger J. Horne, which I mentioned in my recent-ish haul video. I bought this to read as part of a book club, as part of Tegan Cosmic Creeper on her Patreon. We're doing a book club. I am so woefully behind, by which I mean I've started reading. I have not yet contributed to any kind of book club discussion because life has been busy and chaotic and hectic. I'm hoping that when this week of particular chaos dies down, I'll be able to dive into this. So this does focus more on cartomancy and playing card cartomancy, but I think there is a chapter about applying the numerology and the things that this book delves into onto the Marseille Tarot. So this is kind of an honourable mention. And to transition us into decks, I'm also just going to pull out my cute little pink playing cards. I bought these to write keywords and things on from this book as like a learning aid. And then I also have this just deck of playing cards by Six Sad Girls, which came with my Kickstarter order when I backed the Jupiter Power. This was like a little freebie that was thrown into the package. So they're cute. They're cute. And this is going to be my unmarked deck of playing cards. And like I say, this has nothing to do with Marseille, but it's kind of an honourable mention. These are here too. Moving on to decks. You have seen all of these before. I only have 4 Marseille Tarot, Tarot de Marseille. We have The Glorious, The Wonderful, The Current Obsession, Charlie Claire Burgess's new Gay Marseille. Isn't it just so fabulous? I'm obsessed with this deck. I can't stop flipping through it. The cardstock is delicious. The colours are so yummy. The illustration is fantastic. the gender fuckery and how gay it is just absolute perfection. And receiving this deck in the last month, I'm not fully sure when I received this deck, time has no meaning, it's just really renewed my excitement for Marseille study. So this one is definitely going to be frequently pulled out. And speaking of Claire Burgess, not only do I have the guidebook, which I think I neglected to show off in my recent tarot haul because it was on a shelf. I have this guidebook which has specifically what they have chosen to include, what details have been chosen to add into the pips, the little like flourishes, and why and how that contributes to the meaning of the card. I think that's also going to be really helpful as just like another angle to take them from, and it puts them into a pretty specific context, which is very helpful as like a metaphor to learn the cards through. Also, Claire Burgess recently did a live tarot de Marseille class, which I was not able to catch live. I've downloaded the recording of, which they did for all of the backers of the game Marseille. It was a stretch goal, I think, so I have that to watch. So that's going to be a little study in between. Maybe if I'm packing everything else up, I can keep this deck out, watch that class, take some notes, do some study as just a little bit of something different, and that's also a little bit more accessible if I end up away from my stuff, as if I will have spare time, but I will have this to keep me busy. The only vaguely traditional and unstylized and unthemed Marseille I have is the Spanish Tarot. This is a Fournier deck. Here we left behind death. We left death in the box. Love that. This is obviously recolored, but it's that woodblock style and it is pretty traditional symbols. It's just a Tarot de Marseille and I really love the coloration on this one. I will admit, I don't love I think it's the CBD tarot that Ben-Dov created. That's very clean, digitized line work and then bright, flat primary colors. The very clean, like vectorized line work is not super appealing to me in terms of the Marseille. I prefer this more like rough and ready woodcut style. And I also really love the colors in this. The saturation is gorgeous. Like the oranges and the blues and like these, it's just gorgeous. So this is my most traditional, standard looking Tarot de Marseille. Moving back to the thematic stylized Marseille, this is the Dinosaurs de Marseille, which I love and adore. This is just fantastic. It's that woodblocky style, and do you see what I mean about the colors being a little bit more messy? I think this is watercolor, maybe. It's not a woodcut deck, but the style is very reminiscent of that, and I really like that. So, and this is Dinosaurs. This is just a really fun deck. It is themed. We've got like renamed mages and the suits. Like this is, instead of wands, it's the suit of fossils. It's really fun, but I think it's more of like a playful, whimsical take. It feels more traditional to me, even though the dinosaurs are quite abstract. I feel like I can just take that abstract, just know that it is an abstraction, and then read it with traditional meanings. I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure if I explained that very clearly, but that's why I like a lot of animal decks in general. Like I don't take it literally. I'm not actually reading about dinosaurs and meteorites and volcanoes. I'm using that as a metaphor. So anyhow, this is so much fun. And you get loads of cards because you also get the additional like zodiac planetary cards to make it into a Minchiate deck, which I haven't even touched because that's so beyond me at this point, but it is extremely cool. Also, shout out to Kelly Bear because her channel is where I first saw this deck and immediately fell in love. And then finally, the deck that started it all, this is the Squid Cake Marseille Tarot, which I picked up on a whim. This is the mass market version with the cute pink edges. Every time I talk about this deck, I have to show off the adorable pink edges and just how sweet it is. So this was just ridiculously cheap. It's published by Rockpool, and I feel like their tarot decks do tend to be quite reasonably priced. For mass market, they're on the less expensive end. But anyhow, I picked this up pretty much on a whim because it was cheap and it was cute, and I was like, well, if I want to learn Marseille, like, this is probably the one. And I was right. And then I went down I had a whole thing with this deck because I was going through a bit of a shitty mental health time, and this was one that I really gravitated towards to just shuffle because it's such a lovely size. I really enjoy the like tactile experience of this deck. I love the size. And also trying to read this. And when I say trying to read this, I mean I'd pull a card and then I would have to go to the guidebook because I had no idea what the pips meant. And having to do that and like really bring it back to basics and just be faced with the ghosts on this I love, and just be faced with like pips, and I'm like, I don't have any associations with 6 little circles. Like say if I pulled the 6 of Pentacles in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, I would immediately have all of these associations and all of these meanings that I have sort of in my memory bank about the Rider-Waite-Smith, as well as whatever the particular imagery is conjuring up. I don't have that with pips because it's just less stimulating, I suppose. And little strawberries. And yeah, I just really fell in love with trying to read Marseille, and that's kind of what kicked this whole thing off. Because I think this deck came out in March last year, and then I was reading a lot with it in April. The first quarter of 2023 was rough, let me tell you. But anyhow, this kind of kicked it off because I just found like they're so cute. Like this Knight of Swords on a chicken. It's just like this, it's cute. How can you not love? So yeah, this really piqued my interest in the Marseille system. And as you can see, as I've shown you, really kicked off a whole rabbit hole. So I will finish with the squid cake because I have nothing else to show you. That is pretty much it. So like I said, my goals in terms of learning the Marseille system is the Tarot on Earth workbook by Tom Benjamin, as well as Claire Burgess's online class that they did that I have access to. These are my learning things. I have my other books for reference, or if I just fancy dipping into something, then I will grab one of those. I have the Cartomancy book club reading, which is not specific to Marseille, but I think the numerological stuff, it obviously ties in really well. So hopefully I will make some goddamn progress with this book, and then have a play with some lovely decks. So that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I really hope you've enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be joining me, focusing on Marseille decks, study, reading, what have you, in May along with me. And that's it. I'm going to let you go. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Give me a like if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.